Hi, this is Mike Hendrickson from OSCON 2017 in Austin, Texas. I'm here with Zaheda and Adrian from AWS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. How are you two doing?
Great.
Yeah, great to be here.
Good event so far?
Fabulous.
And you guys are going to be talking tomorrow
Yeah.
on
Yes,
a
we
couple of
both are.
subjects? Yeah?
Yeah, I'm doing a keynote which is called We the People, and it's about the people of open source. And then Adrian's speaking at 11 o'clock.
I'm talking about AWS AI and the Apache MXNet project.
Excellent. So what is AWS up to in an open source world?
Well, we've been contributing back to open source for quite a long time, but we haven't had the bandwidth or the charter in the existing engineering teams to go out and tell the story. So one thing is for us to this is a new team. Go back a little bit more. I joined AWS about 6 months ago, and one of the things that I picked up was, let's go build an open source team to engage with the ecosystems. And for the last few years, I would come to OSCON, and I met Zaheda a few years ago, and we'd meet up at OSCON and talk about all the things that needed doing in the world. And I persuaded her that this was a great thing to go and do. So Zaheda's building a team for me around open source, and we're the outbound engagement with ecosystems and developers and communities team. That's our basic charter within AWS, and we're staffing up right now, basically in listening mode at this OSCON. So we've turned up and we want to find out what people want to do.
Yeah, and that's because that's kind of something we haven't been doing. We haven't been talking about what we've been doing in open source. Our developers have been contributing. We've been submitting bug fixes, patches, and some large contributions of code as well, like Boto and Zen. And our goal is to let everybody know what we're doing, but also work with the communities, work with the foundations and the open source projects, and help our engineers connect with the communities as well, so we can collaborate and grow.
So this is kind of a new thing for AWS to actually talk a little bit about what you're doing and how you're fostering the community.
It's new to have this team that's focusing on engaging with the communities. So that's what's new. The engagement with open source, we think there should be more, and we're encouraging the teams to do more. But I think it's been growing over the last few years, and finally reached the level where we said somebody needs to just own it and focus on getting this story told.
So this is something that's been happening for a while, but it's now reached a point where you want to put some intention into it. And,
yeah.
Okay.
And we've been contributing since 2005. We've been contributing patches and fixes and code, but a lot of our, a lot of the engagement also involves all of our developer community and really actively working with open source communities and collaborating. So that's going to be a huge part of our focus.
And so you have some stuff also for nonprofits or credits and things like that you can help some people to...
Yeah, so things like, say, Postgres that's run by a nonprofit foundation, and we contribute to them. They run testing on AWS, so we give them a credit for the testing, and we've built products around Postgres. Right? So it's partly giving back to the community as we use them as an open standard SQL standard, right, for our key database products.
So it's a good, healthy ecosystem there.
Yeah. We're contributing back into, we're getting value from it, and we're helping, and we're fixing and patches and all those things go in, and then we get to make it easy to consume, so more and more people use Postgres because it's just trivially available as a service rather than having to stand it up and manage it yourself.
Yeah, and the credits program has been running for a while. What we want to do is take that and reshape it. And one of the things we're looking at OSCON is input from the community on what they'd like to see and how we should shape a program like that.
So how do they tell you?
We have a BOF at 7 o'clock today. We also have a lounge down in the exhibit hall at OSCON. And we've just launched a Twitter handle at AWS Open.
Okay, so the @ AWS Open.
Yeah, and it's going to be open source, open data, open standards. So we thought rather than just making it open source, we'd make it a little bit more shorter and a little bit more broader scope. So those are the things. We have a pretty good open data program. We host like a continuous live feed of Landsat images and a number of other government-oriented data sets that are just there on, if you go to the AWS site, they're just S3 buckets and you can get this data, and that's a substantial amount of data, and it's been growing rapidly. So those are areas where we already contribute quite a lot to back to the community.
And can you tell me what your short-term vision is for, let's say, the next 6 to 12 months? What would you like to see happen with AWS and Open and the communities here at OSCON?
There's a few projects that I'm particularly interested in. So my talk tomorrow is on Apache MXNet. When we decided to work with this MXNet project, it was a university research project, and we looked at all the different ways that we could support it. And eventually we worked with that project to say, let's go through Apache incubator route. AWS is about 35% of the contributions. There's major contributions from Apple. More recently, Tesla's got involved. There's some Microsoft, Stanford, a few other universities, and a few companies in China in particular, all contributing to build a deep learning framework which has sort of broad applicability. That's something where we're currently in the incubator process. So maybe in a year we're just beginning the incubator process. It's sort of just starting to the point where we're getting the code moved over and those things. But I think in a year we'll be looking for more contributors and much further down the process there. But we really like using the Apache framework to manage the collaboration between all these different companies, and that's the core there. So certainly that's one project. We're putting a lot of focus on it, and I think we're going to see that move forward a long way in a year. And then just the results, we're going to be talking to lots of people about what they'd like us to do, and I think in a year we come back, we'll be talking about the things we've actually done in response to that.
Yeah, and as well as the people we're talking to outside, we're also growing our team to help support this. So we'll have more people. Won't just be Adrian, myself, and Arun. And we're also talking to the teams internally as well. We have a whole amount of energy and passion around open source in the company, and developers that are releasing code that want to do more, and actually supporting them in that work and showing up at the conferences and encouraging them to speak, because they're almost there, but they kind of need that help over that hurdle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we put out a little call internally, and we got about 20 people from AWS came to OSCON this year.
And they're all contributors to open source. They're kind of helping with the booth and enjoying OSCON.
So the example of the MX and the Open also is part of a good ecosystem again, because you're giving and you're getting, and you're giving and you're getting. Yeah. Because as you are...
And we're steering, it's a large external community. I mean, we're just one influence on it, so it's not something we own, but we wanted to provide a lot of input to it. Like I said, about a third of the commits right now, and we're helping it through its process into Apache, and we'll be building our products on top of our AI products on top of it, but it's a much larger thing to build, and that's kind of a new approach for AWS to be taking a major piece of technology and building on in that way.
Excellent. Adrian and Zaheda, we look forward to a conversation next year about how you guys progress with this. Sounds great.
And we say that we're the voice of the open source community within open source and outside.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.